My name's Patti DeBow. I'm an alumni of Beaver College and Arcadia University. I'm also on the board of trustees, and I recently accompanied a bunch of our students on the first ever Cuba preview trip. One of the things that I realized while we were there is how little I knew about Cuba. You know, growing up in the U.S., I think my generation, we weren't taught much about Cuba. The embargo having been in place long before I was born. And so the few preconceptions I had about Cuba were all wrong. And I learned a lot about their economy and the people and the culture, and it just constantly blew my mind. It was very reminiscent of the experience I had when I went to London as a freshman on spring preview. But it was really good to see now that there's this academic component of the trip, and how students were really not only having a good time and enjoying spring break, but also really learning. And you could see them discussing and asking questions about the culture and the history and really engaging with it in a way that I don't think you experience on another kind of spring break trip. You know, one thing that has really stuck with me, we had a guide with us who I spoke with a lot about the education system in Cuba, and she explained to me how their education system is free, but the economy is planned. And so when students apply to university, there are only a certain number of spots available in each major based on how many doctors and lawyers and translators they think they'll need in the country. And my initial reaction to that was very almost defensive, like how could you take that choice away from a student? But the more I talked with her about it and understood, you know, what that prevents is students being lost for jobs when they graduate college, and how students get their education for free and they have guaranteed jobs when they're done. And it really kind of challenged my notions about freedom and education and what those things mean and what does it mean to have a successful education system. So it gave me a lot to think about, and it was a great kind of connection and experience with someone who was local there, and gave me a lot to think about when I came home. I think it's incredibly important. I mean, and you can watch people learn. I mean, that's to me one of the most powerful things I experience continuing to be involved at Arcadia, is watching a student's eyes be open to something they've never seen before. And that happens with travel in a way that just can't happen in the classroom. And it was interesting to me to observe the students and their nerves and their sort of hesitations as we were sitting in the airport ready to go to Cuba. And to see them then again on the way home, and even today at the Global Expo, and how enthusiastic they were, and how it really just changed their notion, not necessarily only of Cuba, but of the world. And you know, I think that that is a critical thing for students who are entering a global economy and who are going to have jobs where they work with people from all over the world and travel all over the world.